Welcome back to World Crisis Radio and my home on the internet, tarpley.net. Buy my books, read the latest on the Wall Street crash. I've got a new Russia Today commentary from this week on that, the relation of the crash to the war, of course, because when you can't save the dollar any other way, you stage the attack. The Iranians interdict Hormuz, $500 a barrel oil, dollar demand is no problem. The dollar is saved. Everybody will be scrambling to buy dollars by hook or by crook. You may destroy world industry, but they don't care about that. They're financiers. They care about quantifiable. They're monetarists, right? They're Austrians. Every speculator, every financier is ultimately an adherent of the Austrian school. Now we have an interesting contribution from Ralph Nader, and this is in the spirit of our New Deal commemoration this week, because this takes us back to the old stamp tax, which existed from the New Deal until 1967 at the federal level. There was a tax on bonds, debt instruments, and other financial transfers. This was very unwisely abolished by the Johnson administration under the pressure, the building pressure from these lunatics like Milton Friedman. But here we now have Ralph Nader, well-known activist, former presidential candidate several times, and here we are in Counterpunch magazine, and it's called The Speculator's Rebate, New York State's $16 billion gift to the Wall Street banksters. How interesting. It turns out here, and I must confess I didn't know it, that New York State has had a securities transfer tax the whole time. A securities transfer tax in the heart of the beast, applying to Wall Street. And the percentages of this are not exactly spelled out, but the revenue enhancement, the amount of money that New York State would have gotten per year and would be getting is $16 billion in the most recent year, say for 2009, I guess he means. But here's what we find. Since 1979, and who would that have been? Was that Cuomo? I'll have to go back. Was that Kerry? We'll take a look. This has simply been it's been refunded. In other words, the clearinghouse where the stock and other paper transactions have been cleared, it would tell New York State, well, this year we owe you $16 billion, and New York State would say, that's all right, you keep it. We want Wall Street to be privileged, right? We have this special system where Wall Street speculators are like the French aristocrats of the old regime. They're immune to taxation. So here we now have Governor Patterson, future Governor Cuomo, or whoever it is, Governor Lazio, if it comes to this, saying in effect, oh, now you guys got to tighten your belt. Over in New Jersey, we have the Garden State Goering. We have Chris Christie, who won't tax the millionaires but wants to gouge the teachers and the state workers and the average person. Here we have a classic case. The New York State governor and government, right, the governors of New York over these years, including Cuomo, have said essentially to Wall Street, no, we don't want to impose that tax, even though the tax is on the books. It's a legal obligation. But no, we're not going to demand your money. So they're demanding austerity from the average citizen and giving Wall Street a free ride. Now, isn't that the whole thing in a microcosm? Isn't that everything that the New Deal was designed to roll back? So it's time to get back to this. These are Wall Street Democrats. And what we have here, interestingly, there's a third-party challenger who's bringing this forward. Howie Hawkins from Syracuse, New York. Howie Hawkins, according to Nader, challenging the big boys on Wall Street, challenging the political duopoly. This is the Green Party candidate for governor. He's nicknamed the Green Hornet. He's an ex-Marine, a citizen advocate, blue-collar teamster, public interest thinker, and he wants to know from Cuomo, if you're the front runner, why are you hiding the stock transfer tax from the public when this is a way to solve the budget crisis of the state of New York? And indeed, this is going to be a campaign because Chicago, Illinois, California, every place where this is a factor. If there are any honest people in this Tea Party, this is now a big question, are there any honest people left? If you guys are serious You want to fight entrenched financier privilege. You want to fight the collusion of corrupt government with Wall Street rapacity and Wall Street speculators. There it is, the New York State tax. And if your state doesn't have such a tax, why not? If New York can have it, where this is the principal form of activity, then why can't your state have it too? So take a look at this. Ralph Nader, the speculative rebate, the speculators rebate, New York $16 billion gift to Wall Street bankers at the Counterpunch website. That's counterpunch.org, and then you'll find the article. So we were saying the reactionary Republican program, of course, is to have a nation of paupers, because if you destroy the old age pensions, you've immediately got 40% of old people go back into poverty, which is where they were before Social Security came along, right? And, of course, the burden of old people with no means of their own, having to be supported by their children, endless human suffering, endless indignity, and so forth. The Republicans would like to attack it. And, of course, the Wall Street Democrats with Obama are going to do a much more effective job. Similarly, on the unemployment insurance, this has now been extended up to the 99er mark, but we need to get that going for the 99ers, right? The people who have now exhausted 99 weeks of support. And the question is, how long? As long as it takes. As long as it takes to prevent starvation, foreclosure, social chaos, human misery, the destruction of the very fabric of human society. That's how long, until this wonderful private sector we're told so much about stops its capital strike and its capital lockout and actually produces the jobs they say they're waiting to produce, but they can't produce the jobs because they're afraid of what Obama may do to them. Well, that's a pretty damn lame excuse in my book. The other thing, of course, in Social Security, the disability part was added in to the federal part later. At the beginning, the disability part, the things for people that were incapable of working, the blind, the sick, the disabled, the crippled, and so forth, that was already included in the original act. And then, to prove the case, the welfare part, the aid to mothers with dependent children, people who are not disabled necessarily, but destitute and in need of emergency relief. This, of course, was destroyed by Clinton at the end of his first term. The worst thing Clinton ever did. We had a number of resignations from the Clinton administration. One guy went on to write a cover story in the Atlantic Monthly, the worst thing that Clinton has ever done. And now we're hearing the story about how Clinton, with Erskine Bowles, was going to make a dirty deal with Newt Gingrich to destroy Social Security by privatizing it, at which point it would have been decimated by Wall Street fees and gouging, by the collapse of the dot-com bubble, and then by the cataclysmic events of the past 2 years. And, of course, the stock market can go down 1,000 points. You have to look every 10 minutes to see how your retirement nest egg is doing. That is just unbelievable, out of this world. So it's a combination of the reactionary Republicans with a frontal attack and then the knife in the back from the Wall Street Democrats. And again, this is an attack on the American standard of living and the middle class. It is the idea that you should have a nation of paupers at coolie wages. This is a loser. Let's look at China. China enjoys protections from hot money. They have walls against international speculation, right? You want to imitate China's success, then imitate some of their measures. Hot money cannot come in and out of China in that way. They have the equivalent of capital controls and exchange controls. The Chinese standard of living is rising, and even these reactionaries welcome that. How about welcoming a rising standard of living over here, you reactionaries? Back in a minute.